How's it going, everyone? It's Nick, and we are doing another episode of Nick at Night, the show where we go over in a non-spoilery way the books we picked up. And I got a decent stack here of books to go over with you tonight, so you don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. All right, let's get into it. So it was a rather big week because we got some books from the previous week because of diamond shipment issues. And so I'm just going to go over the books from this past week, and maybe I'll touch on some other ones at some other points. But we're going to go into Marvel first with the big two. Starting off like we do, we're going over to Moon Knight issue number 5. I kind of enjoy that cover. We've seen this kind of a pose with just this burden, this heavy weight just falling on top of our hero here. We've seen it in Spider-Man, we've seen it in Hulk, we've seen it in tons of other books before. And it's always a good representation, so it kind of sets the tone right off the bat. Mark Spector, Moon Knight, he's just got so much on top of him. And they kind of go over how he's developed over time just this ability to withstand this increasingly crazy load that he has to bear. And so I thought it was pretty interesting. I do like the dialogue between him and the therapist a little bit here. We do get some kind of bait and switch kind of villain action going on here. We're trying to help some people, but we uncover that it's kind of a dead end, but we get some kind of a interesting reveal towards the end of supposedly a new villain in this run. So we are on issue 5. We probably have 7 villains introduced already in this story. And I won't say who it is at the end, just in case people want to care about that. But so I'll kind of go over some of the high points. The art style is really interesting. I love the reflections. I love the radiance that he's drawn with. It's pretty cool. There's some scenes in here where like he's next to some blinds and the moonlight's coming through, and you can see like the striation, like the pattern of the blinds, like in his outfit. So the coloring and the lighting and everything like that is just really, really interesting. So I do like that. There's a lot of the same kind of tones that we've seen though in the dialogue. A lot of self reflection, a lot of brooding, a lot of, I am like this because of these reasons, kind of stuff going on. And he is out there in the night trying to help his friends and kind of gets himself in a sticky situation towards the end. So not a bad issue. I think it's right on par with everything else. And so it didn't blow me away. I'm waiting for one of these issues to blow me away. None of them have done it yet. They've all kind of strung me along, and I really like some of the art in this book though. So that's the main reason why I'm buying this one now. That and the fact that I've never read a Moon Knight before. And so I want to kind of get more into the character. So here we are, Moon Knight number 5. Not bad. It's okay. I think it's right on par, though, if you've liked the other Moon Knights. So that's it for Marvel. I did not get Dark Ages number 3. So maybe I'll get that one and read that one for next week. Moving over to DC, we do have a bunch of DC books. So I'm going to start with Nice House. So Nice House on the Lake, issue number 6. This is our Reggie, I believe, issue. And so we've gotten a really cool reveal of another character that's kind of been like on the property somewhere else. And he has his ways of staying in the loop on what the main group has been doing. I don't want to go over too many spoilers, though, in case you haven't read it. This is kind of like a mid-season finale, I'm going to say. We're not going to see this book, I think, until March, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're trying to get into this book, this is a cool place. It's a cool time to get caught up because we're all going to be jumping back into it around the second quarter of next year. So, with that said, you were kind of expecting a big reveal in this book, or at least I was. I want like a giant cliffhanger. I want a bunch of answers, and I want like a big cliffhanger at the end. And so I think we got that in this book. We got some really cool dialogue. It does what it normally does. It brings in a character. It takes you back in time when this character and Walter were kind of hanging out a whole lot. And it goes over the reasons why Walter picked this person to kind of continue. He had the whole how would you end the world conversation with this person. And it kind of, it plays out. What they did reveal in this book, and I don't want to kind of give it away, is they revealed a lot about Walter in this book. They revealed a lot about maybe the earlier days leading up to this event. Maybe he was telling certain more people some more information than others. And so that was pretty crazy, pretty interesting. Walter's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves, and it's almost like I remember in J and K and Men in Black, and he was trying to neuralize him, or he learns about what the neuralizer is, and then he asks him, "Wait, have you ever neuralized me before?" He's like, "No." It's like, no, I'm serious. Have you ever neuralized me? Anyway, it's like that. There's like that kind of a situation going on, man. You don't know what you don't know, and you might be reliving some moments, and you haven't even realized it yet. So Walter's got some crazy powers, man. He's got some crazy powers. So really interesting. I think it did enough to kind of like want me to just learn everything more. Just keep me hungry. You know, it did enough to keep me hungry. So I'm enjoying it. It's a great time to jump in. Like I said, we got a hiatus coming on. I hate that we do, but Tiny needs to start cracking out. Tiny needs to start cracking out some Substack material because I paid for that and I'm not really getting a whole lot except for a few things here and there. Anyway, it's going to be okay. So moving over to some more DC books, I'm going to kind of jump into Refrigerator Full of Heads. This is Joe Hill presents Hill House Comics. This is issue number 2, and I'm going to do that just because we came out of a Black Label book from DC. Let's jump into a Hill House comic too before we get into like the main DC stuff. I love this issue. So if you have not read Refrigerator Full of Heads, Basket Full of Heads, you're going to be a little confused about some of the people they introduce, some of the concepts they introduce. It looks like they're taking that volume, that concept, that the supernatural component of that, and they're kind of blowing the world up. Maybe there's more than one weapon. Maybe all the different weapons have different things. Maybe there's organizations or groups of people trying to hunt these things down, trying to collect them. And so we still get a little ambiguity about our two characters here, about how much they know about all this stuff. But we get some answers too from what actually happened in the first issue and who knows what. So I thought that was pretty cool. The art's crazy. It's funny. When you have this kind of a supernatural thing going on, you cutting people's heads off and the heads are still alive. It just kind of never gets old. But we've seen a lot of these shticks before though. But it was real fun. I think the art's clever. I think it's just an enjoyable read. So if you're looking for just like a fun read that has like a dash of grotesqueness with like this insane concept, pick this one up, but read Basket Full of Heads first and then get this one, because I feel like you're going to lose some context if you don't do that. Okay, going over to the main DC universe stuff, we're going to go into Son of Kal-El. This is issue number 5, and I got what cover is this? C. Got the C cover here because this is basically the only reason this issue exists, like this moment right here, right? So I wanted to get the cover to reflect that. Didn't enjoy the issue in its entirety. My problem with Jonathan and Jay right now is it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like they got there in a logical way. So I don't mind the relationship. I just don't see enough of a build up to get to the moment, to make it pay off, to make it satisfying, you know? So, again, the relationship's fine. I just wish it was, the buildup was better. So I will say that. So, Jonathan's gotten attacked by this evil like dictator in a way that he's never been attacked before. It kind of heightens the senses a little bit. He feels compelled to do more than he's ever done before, to kind of race around and save and save people. So that's a pretty interesting scene. I like that he's just so compelled to help that he basically runs himself out. And they give a kind of a reason of why he's might be able to run himself out, which I think was kind of cheap. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel like the best moments of this book is when he's kind of aimless. He's running around just kind of saving people, trying to figure out what to do, and they're kind of forcing this other character into the mix here, and he's got like a parade of super friends as well. It's just a little confusing. I'm just not too sure how this is all going to work out. I just think that this Jay guy and everybody else is going to be an evil villain in disguise. They're working with the dictator. They're trying to get in this guy's head. Superman's taken off. This guy's trying to own Superman, Jonathan right now. And so I think he's just going to be a bad guy at the end. There's just no way. This guy's a little too shifty. He's got shifty eyes, man. He's got shifty eyes, and he's got shifty powers. no pun intended, I suppose. So I don't know. I feel like Jonathan's a little too aimless right now, and he's being pretty haphazard with his where he's putting his attention. And I feel like somebody in his position, with his power set, should have been provided more guidance. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like he's pretty aimless right now. He's following vloggers. You know what I mean? He's following vloggers, and he's asking Robin what he should do. He's asking Damian, what should I do? It's like, dude, You can figure it out, man. You can figure it out. Why don't you just fly around the world and just listen for help for a couple years and just do the best you can? But he's getting wrapped up with some interesting folks, and I don't know. So I don't think that our big buildup to this moment earned it yet. I think we could have waited and developed that relationship a little bit more, and it seemed just kind of wedged in a little bit. And I don't know. So that's what I thought about this one. I hope it gets better. I enjoyed the first issue a lot. Like, the first issue was great. And then I was super excited about it. But I just don't see us going in the direction that Future State kind of led us to believe we were going to go into, or Infinite Frontier, or whatever it was. And so I'm kind of disappointed in that. So not too thrilled with that one for a lot of different reasons. So Batman 117 from Tynan and Mendez on the art. So this one was really good. This is the third of a connecting cover. So this is the last issue of the Fear State arc here. It was pretty cool. I did enjoy it. Now, I think the best parts were basically the moments where Miracle Molly's trying to hack into the computer and kind of stop the bomb that Scarecrow's kind of planted while Batman's fighting Peacekeeper. Those scenes are really awesome. Just the relentlessness of Batman, you know what I mean? And the technique and the power and the experience that he brings to that fight was so cool, because he's out muscled. He's been out muscled before. He's not going to be outskilled, and he just takes care of business in that moment. And I really enjoyed that. So in the beginning of this, we do get a Robin tie-in. Nightwing tie-in. So if you were reading Nightwing, read Nightwing first, then come into this book. So, and if you don't, you're going to be a little bit lost. Like, wait a minute, how the heck did that series of events happen, right? So you're going to get there. They touch on Ivy here, and they kind of resolve that as well. It resolves exactly the way that you'd think it would. So there's really no big surprise there. But they introduced a kind of like a beautiful element into her rebirth a little bit here. And so I did enjoy that. The art's crazy in this one. It's really interesting. And I mean, you know, there's some really cool touching moments in there. The battles are awesome. Miracle Molly's a badass. I hope they keep continuing with that character. I really enjoyed her. You know, the confliction in her mind. She's got the upper hand at a couple moments in this book, and she kind of has to make a decision. And so we go on. Now, the end of this book, they're kind of wrapping things up. Gotham's in a much better place now, and so there's a lot of panels towards the back that are just kind of tying up the story, touching base on everybody, seeing where everybody is, kind of setting the stage for their future runs, which I really enjoyed. So yeah, I can't wait. And actually, the backstory in here for Batgirls is actually pretty cool. So when that run comes, I'm probably gonna pick it up, and if issue 1's already out or whatever, I got to go back and get it. But they're kind of continue the story, and I enjoyed the art. So I'm wondering if that creative team, if you guys know the backstory in Batman 117, the Batgirl story, is that creative team pushing it forward? Because if it is, I'm probably going to pick it up, because I love that art, and that coloring was pretty dope too. So Batman, I mean, if you've been reading them, you got to pick them up. And then eventually, I think maybe, you know, the next issue, we're going to go ahead and switch creative teams. Maybe we'll do like some kind of a transition issue, something like that. We will see. Nightwing 86. So yeah, this is our Robin teams, our Batgirls. Everybody's kind of teaming up right now and taking on the floating fortress in the sky, right? And so Simon Saint's up there and all of his gang members and stuff. And so they've got their own little objective. We got to get up there. We got to kick some ass. And that's exactly what they do. I think the art is pretty good in this book too. And if I have to say one thing about Batman and Nightwing, the last two issues have been pretty, maybe not in Batman, but in Nightwing, the last two, and Batman, the last issue, it seems like the story was finishing up pretty quickly just to get it done, just to kind of knock it out. It seems like it was dragged on, and then it's like, oh crap, we only have 2 issues left. We got to get a lot of stuff done. So it feels like they've been just knocking things out, and Nightwing feels like that. Nightwing, everything progresses just super quick. And so if it's a pacing issue, it's a pacing in the forward direction too quickly. But, you know, they get the job done. They get the job done just like you thought. And we do get a Batgirl story at the end here. And so, again, I'm interested to see what goes on there. So Batgirls looks like it's going to be pretty fun. So I can't wait to kind of get into that, because I don't know much about the Batgirls except for Barbara. All the other ones, I'm like, how many more are there? And everyone that they've introduced, I'm like, well, she looks pretty cool. Oh, she looks cool. And I just love that. There's some pretty funny moments in that book too. Okay, so we're going to go on to Tom King's Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, issue number 5 of 8. Again, I love this issue. What I like about this is it's always fun to read stories where the hero or whoever it is going through struggles. This book does it in just a different way. Tom King has just a way of making that dialogue seem real, seem impactful, and I think it's because they're using another character to kind of walk us through that moment. It's set as like a storytelling moment. So the present day in this book, this person is reflecting back on all these events, and so that adds a certain level of mindfulness in the dialogue, and so we know things get better, but we just still feel so helpless in the moments like in this issue right here. So we do get to see our villain. He has a trick up his sleeve, which he deploys on our heroes here, and so then they're kind of sent off to a familiar prison that was developed to kind of hold back Superman himself. And so Kara, man, she's just doing everything she can possibly do. Our other girl here, she's also stepped up in this issue. She's kind of been like a bystander, kind of sat on the sidelines, observing Supergirl take on all these things, and she had her moment to shine for sure in this issue here. So I thought it was pretty cool. It's almost like, I don't want to give away what's going on in the book exactly, and just because you should read this book. It's crazy good. But if you've ever been with somebody that's like detoxing, we basically have that same kind of scenario. We have somebody who's just completely out of their mind, hallucinating, can't help it, and then you have the other person like doing everything they can do to keep that person down, keep them in a safe place, and everything. If you've ever had that experience, I don't envy you. Been there before, but yeah, it's pretty awesome what they're doing in this book. So I really enjoy that, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This is probably one of the best coloring and art I've ever seen in a comic book. I absolutely love it, and yes, Supergirl nails it again, just like it has the last 4 times with issue number 5. Cannot recommend that book any more highly. So we're going to get into a few more indies, and we are going to go over, man, I love this next book. Okay. Radio Apocalypse from Vault. And this is Ram V, and just a crazy creative team on here. I absolutely love it. So I've been looking forward to this book for months now. I think it was supposed to come out back in August. I don't know what happened. It kept on getting pushed out. So when we finally get it, it's from Vault, and I love the page quality. It's almost like a boom book. It feels like a matte cover, and the colors are really, really cool. And I feel like it's almost 3D the way that it's drawn, and the colors are all layered out, but it's not. But when you open up the inside, it looks like a Ram V book. It's just got those purples and those yellows and those blues and those reds, and everything just kind of pops. And then the art on top of it, the line work and the inking and everything, it just, everything pops everywhere. So the first thing you notice in this thing is the style of the art, the coloring and the line work, everything. It's gorgeous. And so then you kind of get into the story. The story is really interesting. We have a post-apocalyptic world. We almost have like a Robin Williams, Good Morning Vietnam kind of opening scene right here, which I thought was pretty cool. We get introduced to maybe some drifters, maybe some people trying to escape another area. I don't know. There's some injuries. We're trying to get from one place to the other. We're almost there. Can we make it kind of a story? We get some scavengers. We get some stories about some scavengers and the kind of trouble they get into and how desperate they are. We get to understand the guy that's kind of running this little like town that's kind of walled in right now from the threats outside. And the threats are pretty interesting too. They're almost monsterish, kind of like a Radiant Black, or not Radiant Black, like a Noctera or like Oblivion Song type creatures. If you're familiar with either of those two books, same brand of monster. So we get all these unique characters we're kind of being introduced to every other page, and then you got this just crazy artwork, crazy coloring on top of it, and it's great. It's great storytelling. The perspective, the angles that they use are real interesting too. So there's a couple scenes in here where it's just the camera work. It feels like it's just so brilliant how they did this. I really enjoy it, and that's something you don't really see too often in comic books nowadays. It's just like creative camera angles. I'm going to call it camera angles for lack of a better word. It's got a lot of emotion. It's got a lot of heart in here, and it just wants you. it makes you want to buy the next issue so bad. Love Radio Apocalypse. One of the best books I've read. Definitely one of the best books this week. Okay, going over to Jeff Lemire and Sorrentino and Dave Stewart's Primordial issue number 3. Now, I didn't really have an idea of where the story ever was going to go based on the solicitations. Now, we have Abel and Leica, I believe it's pronounced. So we have our animals that the different countries have sent up as during the space races back in the day and things like that. We were led to believe that they were lost. Nothing ever came of it. Turns out that something was found, and they're trying to kind of pull the plug because they don't like what they found, apparently, is kind of what I'm gathering. So we have our characters here trying to understand, trying to unravel, trying to uncover the actual truth. They're being chased or being hunted down by some other folks. I believe the KGB is involved. And so we get a little bit of origin stories with our different animals involved, and we get some like real low-level dialogue between them, just trying to like explore who each of them are, where they came from, things like that. There's obviously some kind of like mothership aspect going on here too. And so I don't know. I'm waiting. I think what this book suffers from so far is single issue production. So I feel like in a trade, this might read a little bit better just because there's a lot visually going on. It's a beautiful book to look at for sure. The actual progression of the story in this issue and the last issue and the last issue, there's minimal progression of the story, which I don't mind, but I feel like I'm just kind of being dragged on. It's a cool book. I like it. I just kind of want more. Every time I finish an issue, I'm just like, is that it? Like if you flip the page, there's only a few words on each page, except for the very first page or two. So it feels like it's almost like a silent issue in a way. Not a whole lot of dialogue, a lot of using the art to tell the story, which is perfectly fine, but you can only go so far when you're trying to like figure out a plot, when you're trying to figure out more of what's going on or where the story is going. And so I don't know where the story's going. We're in 3 issues right now, and we have our people down below trying to communicate up to some animals that may or may not still be there, and they're experiencing some kind of form of reality right now, and they're trying to adjust to it, and maybe they're evolving. Not entirely sure. It's a pleasure to look at, and I'm still intrigued for sure, but it's not exactly going in the direction I thought it was going to go when we heard the news that Primordial was a thing, right? So yeah, we'll keep going. It's kind of lukewarm for me right now. It's kind of lukewarm. First issue was pretty interesting. Second and third were like, where are we going with this? So going over to 2 books that kind of, these particular issues really shot the story forward. And I think it was a buildup that we've been seeing coming, especially in the one book I'm going to save for the end. But going over to Boom Studios, issue number 4 of Eat the Rich / Join the Rich with a engagement ring on there. So, I mean, that kind of gave away what was going to happen in the story a little bit here. So basically we have, and I'm awful with the names, but we have basically the fiance to be who's understanding the reality of what it means to be inside of this family when it comes to Eat the Rich. And so she's kind of learning to accept what's going on. And she doesn't know if she can. We get an introduction here to a theme that we may have gotten hints to in the previous books. And thinking back now, I'm like, yeah, I could see the connective tissue between these two characters. And so we're pushing, we're exploring the boundaries of that relationship, and you'll know what I mean when you read this. We're getting this disconnect with her and her boyfriend / fiance to be. You know, he's brought her in, he's introduced her to the clan. She's trying to understand what's going on. He's been like weirdly distant this entire time, which has been a criticism of mine. I'm like, I don't know. I don't enjoy their relationship or how stupid and oblivious he seems to be and just ignorant to the fact that this might be weird to her. So that's just always been kind of weird, but he's been very preoccupied. We understand why towards the end, but the gap between them is growing increasingly, and I'm not sure if the what happens at the end of this is going to be able to bridge that gap ever again. But we do get some confrontation in here. You learn about what happens between the rich and the servants there. We understand their dynamic. We understand why they do it on both sides. And so we still get a little supernatural hint here and there about what's in it for the rich. You know what I mean? We know what's in it for the servants, but we don't really understand what's in it for the rich. We get these little hints, and we don't really know too much more. We have to read into it a little bit, which I think is an interesting concept. But we get some conflict in a contract. And so it kind of plays out here, and we get some conflict between our girl here and the family, and it's pretty dramatic conflict. And then we kind of have like a Saved by the Bell kind of a moment towards the end. And you know, it was interesting. It was pretty cool. I have been enjoying this. I wish they would play more into the supernatural aspect of this. I do enjoy that we've introduced some conflict because we're in issue number 4. And besides the fact that, I say besides the fact that they're like eating people, that's not really a conflict. I need like rivalries. I need some kind of physical conflict, some kind of emotional conflict. We got that though. But this is the first time where we actually had some like physical conflict between our main characters and the family. And we kind of saw that building and building and building since issue number 1. So join the rich, eat the rich, number 4. Not a bad issue. Kind of pushed it a little bit forward, introduced a little bit more conflict in there, and I kind of enjoyed that. So talking about conflict, Not All Robots from Mark Russell, Upshot, AWA issue number 4 here. So everything about Not All Robots from a visual perspective. Mike Diodato Jr., Lee on the colors, and we got Steve Wands on the letters. It's great. So if you've been enjoying the art style, it's just going to continue. It's just going to be awesome. And ever since I kind of heard that he enjoys adding kind of like actors and actresses and things like that as his characters in here, I can't help but look at crowds of people and try to pinpoint who's who. And so I just can't help it now. It kind of takes away from the storytelling. But this entire time we've been seeing like the humans, how they've been interacting with the older robots, and now we got these like humanoid bots being introduced into there. So there's a level of jealousy and being replaced and becoming obsolete brewing in the robot community. And these newer robots, they have some kind of empathy chip or something inside of them that makes them just completely void of any kind of emotion or fight back or anything like that. So we get some big conflicts in this one here. We have like full-blown riots from both sides, just kind of taking charge and just big battles and stuff, which I thought was cool. Pretty much everyone that we've been introduced to is inside of that right now. I'm not going to tell you the outcome of, you know, what happens to who, but we get some pretty dramatic things happening in here. And we get some pretty interesting, heartfelt moments between some of the members of the family and the robots and whatnot. And we kind of see if that had any kind of impact on the decisions they made kind of going into this battle. So pretty interesting. I don't know where they go from here. I could feel the buildup and the buildup every single issue. And now that it's kind of popped off, I don't really quite know where we go. We do get what I believe it says coming next month. We get like a 1-page thing with 4 panels on it. And they all seem like disparate panels. And I don't quite know. I can't really ascertain any information just from this. So I don't really know what's going on, but maybe someone out there that's smarter than I can kind of unravel that. Issue number 4, for it to be the conclusion of the buildup of the last 4 issues, I don't think it was, I'm trying to think, like, it was probably as good as the rest of them, but the other ones seemed to intrigue me more and more and more, especially issue 1 and 2. 1 and 2 killed it. 3 was really good, and 4 was really good too. But I think I'm riding the wave of issue 1 and 2 still. And issue 4 is not bad, though. So that's all I got. I wanted to give out probably an honorable mention to a book from last week that I read. And I'm trying to find it right here. That honorable mention is What's the Furthest Place From Here from Image Comics. We got a gigantic issue here. Really, really cool. I'm planning to get together with No Good Comics in the next few days and go over this with him. So I can't wait to do that. So wait for that review over on his channel. So as always, I like to go through and pick out, if I only had to pick out like 3 books, why don't we do 3 books this time? I like to kind of challenge myself. So if I only can get 3 books, come on, Radio Apocalypse. That one's a given. Supergirl, absolute great book as well. And let's see, 3 books is going to be hard. 3 books is going to be rough because Nice House on the Lake has done a great job of introducing some new concepts and giving us a big cliffhanger at the end to kind of hold us over until after the mid-season break, right? So that was really interesting. So I'm going to keep it to 3 because I'm a man of my word. So Radio Apocalypse, Supergirl, Nice House on the Lake, and Refrigerator Full of Heads. So those are my 3. Those are the 3 best books from this week. Radio Apocalypse, Supergirl, Nice House, and Basket Full of Heads. All right, guys. that's what I got for you this week. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys thought of this past week's books. Any comments or questions or anything about anything I had here? Can you clarify anything? Did I make any mistakes? Let me know down below in the comments. While you're down there, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell notification for future videos. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the comments.